Hello and welcome to the talk series with Guiding Lights by Zaggle. I'm Payal Gandhi Hoon, your host, bringing you up close for riveting conversations with some of the brightest and leading HR leaders. I have someone with me today who is passionate about the science of people. He's a seasoned leader who embraces and drives change. He strongly believes in values being a guiding force to making decisions and taking action. An executive coach and a people transformation leader for more than 2.5 decades with years of diverse experience in automotive, manufacturing, shared services, FMCG, and service industry in domains of HR, business partnering, and business process re-engineering, organizational development, and leadership development. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Dipankar Ghosh.
Thanks, Payal. Thanks for inviting in this platform. Look forward for engaging.
Absolutely. So, Dipankar, I'd like to start with your keen interest for science and geology, kind of getting transformed into the passion and purpose for the science of people.
Yeah, you nailed at where it should be hit. I dreamt of having a career in geology, which is, as you would all know, is all about outdoors, being in camps, off-site, remote locations where you dig out the treasures underneath the earth, and you end up becoming an HR leader. And HR is all about being indoors and working from backend. So I think that is what probably is the first thing that I would want to talk about. Is if you one of the secrets that I would think has helped me to stretch is the ability to unlearn and relearn across my 23 years of career. And this unlearn and relearn is across all aspects. When you change industry, you learn newer nuances of the game. I started my career in a public sector, very different from the kind of culture, environment, and work practices that you are typically here for. I worked there for 10 years, and I think I learned a lot. And when today people ask me how different it was, yes, it was different. But I think the principles don't change for a commercial organization or for any business. And I learned that in my good old days of being a officer in a government organization. I moved to corporate, huge change, and joined in an automobile industry, an industry I had no idea about. And 7-8 years, I would probably say I did pretty well. And one of the way was how quickly I could forget few things I had been doing and got used to in my government office and adjust to the big world of automobile and Tata Motors, whatever it was then. And then I moved to a completely different industry, a alco-babe industry, which was kind of considered a taboo kind of an industry. And when I decided to make the shift, I remember my colleague saying, why are you moving from Tata Motors, being a top talent here, and moving to a very different industry? And the company then was mired into a lot of controversies. And I knew, or probably I was told what's going to happen, and I took that chance. And next 5 years in Diageo was an absolutely fantastic journey. From being industry which is taboo, today Diageo is one of the sought after employer in India. And then I moved back again to an FMCG world, and very different from what I have been doing. And I knew one of the few who selected me during the selection round asked, "You haven't been in FMCG ever, and you are being interviewed for the role of CHRO. How do you think you adjust? Because you don't understand this industry." And 4 years hence, I think it had been quite a good journey. So the point I am trying to say is, first, you learn and relearn your industry. The other part is you continuously learn and relearn your function, because the way we have seen HR when we started our career is very different from the way it is. Technology, aspiration, engagement, and I didn't graduated with human resource as my specialization. I graduated with what we used to call as personal management, very different from what it is today, right? And hence you are continuously relearning the trait, and you have to be very updated. So that's very important. But I think the most important unlearning happens here, and that unlearning is when you are adaptive and agile, and that is something that helps you unlearn and relearn. So I think that's one of the thing I would want to emphasize again and again. And I have seen at any stage of your career, you typically have three generation in workplace, and every generation has a opinion and a judgment of the other generation, and I have seen that all through. The trick is to identify the strength of the other generation or the other paradigm and learn from them rather than discounting them. And that's true as much as for us, as much as for new millennials, because whatever position one is holding, there is a reason why he is holding, and discounting is not the right thing for a sensible person. You need to understand the perspective, more so if you are a human resource professional. Understanding history, understanding legacy, understanding why is it happening the way is it happening is very important. And from you build up story from there instead of discarding at any stage of your career. And I have seen that all through. And yeah, you have a bit of an arrogance when you start. You think everything past is wrong, but I would probably want to put that point, that look at the perspectives. Being a student of history at many points of time is not a bad idea sometimes. So that's one part which I think has really made me stand in good stead. The other part, and very relevant for HR business professionals, is understanding business from in the language of people. You see, ultimately we are in the business of making a successful organization, and hence understanding their language is very important, and not only talk the esoteric world of people's sentiment only. It then disalienates the business from what HR is trying to achieve. Many a time I see my team members, my colleagues complaining about certain things not happening, certain things not getting pushed through enough. And one of the things I keep saying is, have you been able to put the business perspective on the human resource proposal that you are bringing in? Is there an ROI in your business term that is there, or is it just a good to do? And pandemic has made us do many things on empathy, on human resource management, on making sure their wellness is taken care of. Now in hindsight, they all appear as a cost element. You can actually put that as an investment element also, and the moment you put that as an investment element, your CFO, your MD, your CEO immediately makes sense out of it. And hence understanding the business element of where we are is important. And I will give you an example. We have, for a company of our size, we have a frontline workforce of around 3,000 people who are not our employees, who are our distributor salesmen, and they are managed by them, and they are typically paid minimum wage. We during pandemic we realized that those are the one who are really in distress, while they are not our employees. And when we took that proposal saying we need to do something for them, the obvious thing is, why should I do? First, it is 3,000 people, cost is huge, and why should I take responsibility? And the position that we took was, it was an investment to retain an army of 3,000 people who, if they move out and they are extremely attrition pro, then look at the cost that we have to entail once pandemic is over, because pandemic is not going to stay. The amount of excitement and I would say retainment feeling that was created through those few actions around their health and well-being and supporting their basic needs. So we gave them insurance policies, we gave them rations while we did not spend directly on cash. And today, while many companies are complaining around attrition in that level, we still hold that. And I remember that conversation where the business understanding by HR as to why it is critical was important. And I say this two part: relearn and unlearn continuously, and have a clear focus on understanding business.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful. Some qualities and strengths, like you said, as a leader, which have actually held you in the long stead. I think what will be very helpful for the audience to know is what are one or two key challenges that you have got a grip of over your career? I'm sure there have been plenty of challenges.
There had been multiple challenges. Some you know as tactical, some you know always exist. But some, when I look back in my last 2 decades of journey, two things that I really feel proud about, and I will probably share that and share as to how we navigated that, to give a perspective around how HR can really transform into partnering and be on the same plane along with the business. So that was this interesting time in Tata Motors around 2010. I had just moved in from the plant location to Mumbai with a very interesting role. And I will give you a small business context. And it feels so nice as I speak now, because Tata Motors passenger car now is number 2 in India, just after Maruti. After 25 years of being in the passenger car, finally we have been able to take the number 2 position, and hence it becomes much more contextual. That was the time in 2010 we were 7th or 8th in ranking out of the 9 or 10 odd players in the country. After 15 years of being in the business, complete month on month, quarter on quarter, there was business which we were struggling. Our products had a lot of complaints. There were not enough footfall or customer query in the dealership. One of the several things that the organization decided to do, in addition to bringing up new products, new product pipeline, completely redesigning the platforms, in addition to that, increasing the network distribution. And that was also the time, if you remember, Nano was going through the worst phase after the all hype and hoopla that preceded it. So it was one of the bad times. And one of the things that we said was, how do we develop the capability of 50,000 odd people who work in the dealership of Tata Motors spread across the country. Tata Motors at that point of time had 500 dealers and average 100 people each. So we are talking of 50,000. 50,000 people, and how do you make sure that they are not of varying quality, because they are again employees of dealers and nothing to do with Tata Motors. But that is the person who interacts with my final customer for the first time, and the customer experience Tata Motors through him, because that's what it happens, right? And how do you make sure that his entire experience with this company product is at par with what we expected? Hence, how do we change the paradigm? This was not easy, because you are talking of 500 independent dealers who have their own idea about managing human resource. They have their own budget of managing human resource. They have their own pipeline of people who comes, because they may have other businesses and they typically would take people from other businesses, and all of them, and some of them would be shared resource. And then when we started this journey, we decided that let us create a common minimum agenda. And common minimum agenda of 500 independent dealers who would be very, very difficult to come to a consensus. It took me, so this is a completely new project, something that haven't ever happened in automobile industry ever, in trying to create a baseline HR practice for dealership manpower. Unique initiative by Tata Motors. I was heading the project, and one of the biggest project I have ever handled in my life. Working very closely with the commercial director of Tata Motors, visiting probably 150 dealers of India, personally meeting them, explaining others through group meetings. Obviously, Zoom did not exist at that point of time. And then we decided, how do we create a recruitment process outsourcing engine who seamlessly provide manpower to them through a very basic quality check that we wanted to do. It obviously would increase cost of dealers, and we had to bring them on the table. How do we create capability development of these people where they are trained at real time basis whenever there is a product upgradation or there is something to celebrate, there is a scheme coming. And again, those were infant days of technology, and mobile applications were just coming in. How do we create a loyalty engagement program for all these 50,000 people when they do something great during Diwali sale or during Gudi Padwa sale? Those are big events for automobile, right? And so putting technology in place, creating vendors, because in India vendors did not exist. At least 3 big HR outsourcing organization which exists in India today, we created them at that point of time, saying this is the agenda that is there, can you help us? And they said, we haven't done anything like this before. And I said, we also haven't done anything like this before, so let's do it together. And today, as I look back, and as our scores started improving, we kick-started and kind of stabilized the project over 3 years. Results started showing when the quality of manpower, their capability, their ability to engage with the customer, and their retention because of the importance that they are getting started bearing fruit. In fact, today 70% of my team members whom I hired at that point of time, showing them a dream which I didn't knew the full picture of. Most of them are in competition companies doing the same work in different avatars, because other automobile companies copied that model, while I moved away thereafter from that, absolutely. But that's something when we did, involving life of 50,000 people as a unique thing. And how do you actually develop the retail sales capability of a primarily B2B company is something I see as an HR professional creating a significant impact on the business. So that's one, it remains as one of the high point. And now when Tata Motors do very well, their customer service orientation score is one of the best in the industry, which was not so 10 years back. I see that as a continual improvement journey. So that's one.
Right. So what I hear from you really is to be able to, for HR to be able to have and take a stance and also influence the business in ways that they may not be viewing it from a different perspective, because HR really has the lens to be able to see it from ground reality. Key aspect to add to the company's culture is its investment in rewards and recognitions, and also employee benefits. So would like to invite you to share your views on some of the best practices in terms of rewards and recognitions and employee benefits that you may have led or kind of witnessed over a period in your journey in your career.
This is one thing that absolutely is an evolving field, much more in the last 5-7 years than I have ever seen before. The amount of discussion happening around benefits, recognition, and essentially managing expectation. The pace at which it is changing is also phenomenal. There was a time when culture were very intrinsic with organizations, and organizations would typically say, I am like this, take it or leave it. That's no more the case with the new startups coming in, but more so with them. And if I look back, when we joined the workforce 2.5 decades back, we were much lesser a rebel and accepted things probably than what the current generation is, and particularly the last 10 years. We and quite thereafter sometime. Probably we were more, and that's what the new India is talking about, a much more aspirational India, a much more confident India, a much more global India. And hence the behaviors and the manifestations have to be very different. Um, Rewards, benefits needs to be much more customized, needs to be much more aspirational, need to be much more something which is gratuitous at that point of time and cannot be delayed. And if you see, that's how your comp and ben practices are moving, where we are bad in both my organization. We have tried to make it flexible so that within the given amount of CTC that we offer, employees have option to play around with 5-6 component. Do you want to save tax? That is plan A. Do you want to take home more money because that's your age? You don't want to have a medical insurance. You want to spend that in social club, in car. Take that money. Or you want to go the vanilla way. That's your vanilla way. That's one. Second, you give option to employees through a basket and ask them as to what do you want. So that's one way of managing reward, particularly reward on compensation. But on benefits or on recognition, I think a huge change is happening, because today options are so much more. 20 years back, your company take you for an annual picnic or an annual today offsite, you are happy round the year. Today the first thing 50% will say that I don't want to go to an annual offsite. That's such a waste of 2 days. How do you still engage them? Through customized intervention, and that is where technology is coming very strong. How do you so the way we are looking at, and that's what we are trying to do today, is first we create a technology interface not only to understand what are the myriad options that a employee is looking at. Somebody would be extremely engaged if I leave him or sponsor him for a guitar class in the weekend, and for else nothing else matter.
Thank you once again. And we are curious to know about what is that one HR trend that you closely follow, and what's the source for that trend?
One of the trend, and I don't know whether this is trend or not, but what I am seeing is employees today are seeking and looking for companies whose values match their own, and not the other way around, where you adjust to the values of the company. It's actually the other way around. And hence, and again that's coming from our previous discussion, and hence the rigidity of employers that look, I am like this, take it or give it, needs to move out. And that's the trend I'm clearly seeing, how more and more organizations are actually becoming very similar. In India, typically you would see 3 kind of companies. One are the MNCs with a very distinct set of values and culture set that they bring from outside, and generally try to cover that, mostly saying, this is our culture across the globe. The second is the promoter-led organizations, and large, big, well-known, established promoter-led organizations. Again, they have a culture which they see they have inherited in 100 years, 50 years, 70 years, and you typically end up saying, this is what it is. And the third is the small organizations, the startups, and the myriad new SMEs, MSMEs coming up. They have their own way of doing things. What the trend is, more and more I see an amalgamation and coming in terms of certain basic things for most who want to be in the race, because less and less your employees are willing to adjust to you. And I remember a very small example, when I joined this organization 4 years back, and we talked about work from home. Uh, there was this entire resistance saying, we don't operate that way, and let's not adopt the MNC way. We like soiling our hands. Please come to office 5 days a week. What is work from home? Then take a holiday. We have enough leaves. Today I don't need to say that many of them are actually pushing me, saying, "Arey, तुम्हारा work from home थोड़ा ज़्यादा करो," because that's the reality. So we were slow in adapting because the baseline has been set. And these are the questions that your employees are today, or your prospective employees are today asking when they are getting interviewed. Where is your office? Location is a big issue. Whether you are adopting work, I last 6 months, whosoever I have interviewed, everybody has definitely, they may not have asked about compensation, they may not have asked about role, they definitely have asked about, are you operating fully from office or are you working from home as well? I do not remember anybody not asking it. Now, which means they are looking for a company which matches their need and not the other way around.
Sure. So employee experience is really where we need to focus on when it comes to trends, because it's changing the way companies are reflecting their entire ecosystem, if I may say so, in the way that employees want to be treated, and also want a clear declaration on how their employee life cycle is going to look like. And that's the level of, if I may say, employees being aware of what they really want and clear of what they want. So as a guiding light, what is that one advice that you'd like to give to HR professionals that is a must do?
Financial acumen. Understand the ROI of your business. Treat your talent as the most important lever of your existence, and don't treat it as a component of your assembly line. Because technology is an enabler, but it cannot override human touch.
Right. Well said. Thank you so much, Dipankar, for being the guiding light today on the Guiding Light series by Zaggle. It's been an absolute pleasure interacting with you.
Thank you, Payal. It was absolutely a pleasure.